Hey guys, I just had a few things I wanted to talk about today. We'll go down the list of what you can see in the title. Um, First thing is, video views have been dropping a little bit, which is fine. But oftentimes when this happens, I know sort of a couple of things are happening. One, I've put out a ton of videos lately, and our charts are kind of repetitive because we chart quite high and quite low usually, oftentimes for very volatile stocks, and we just cover a lot of ground with the levels and they hold up for a long time, which is good, but it has the double-edged effect of then being too repetitive, I think, and so folks kind of tune out for a while. So I could slow down, the cadence at which I put out the videos. I would prefer if there's just stocks that I haven't covered on the channel or that I haven't covered for a while that you're interested in. If you could just put the ticker symbol in the comments below. Feel free to list out a bunch. I don't care. If you do list out a bunch, I would say put them in order that you would like to see them, because I'll probably just go sequentially. But yeah, just ticker symbol, not company name or some other weird thing. Just the ticker symbol is the most helpful. So that's one. The other thing is I did make a couple of buys today. I know I've been a little bit skittish on the overall market. I'll talk about that in a minute. But the couple of buys that I made today, if you want to go take a look at the charts, were ZYME and MODD. These are stocks I don't think I've ever bought either of them before. They didn't ring a bell. There was some interesting insider activity, so you could go to each of those tickers, ZYME and MODD, and look at the recent insider buying activity. I thought it was quite interesting, and I feel like they're in sort of an industry or a sector that insider buying might play a role. But they're highly speculative plays. Again, I screened for insider buying, so that was my screening system. And then I sort of took a look at what sector they were in and took a look at the chart and said, okay, does anything here have some potential? And those two seem to kind of fit, so I took sort of a calculated risk with those. But just know that, anything in the realm of these speculative plays can get just absolutely slashed really quickly. So just know that that's the case. But yeah, if you want to look at those, you can. Overall, market-wise, I'll throw a couple of charts up here while I'm talking. SPY to me is getting quite jumpy. It's doing a better job than I sort of thought it would, working its way through the 183 EMA from below. And it's at this critical point where it's getting through the 183 and the 21 EMA, but there's that red 34 EMA that I think you really need to pay attention to, because if it rejects off of that 34 EMA and essentially gets squeezed down through the 183, we've seen this happen before where it almost acts like a descending triangle, like with a typical chart pattern where you have a downtrend resistance that meets a support level, and that's a descending triangle, and it often pops that stock right through that right through that support level, so it keeps turning downward. So just be cautious if it does get a strong rejection off of that red 34 EMA. If it does pop down through that 183, you could sort of be in for another bearish swing sooner than later. And if it does continue to the upside, the next level that I'd look at there, I'm going off memory, but I think it was 588 is the next level that I would be looking for if it does continue to push. QQQ is a little tighter in, again, going off of memory, but I think that level, if it does continue to the upside, 495, it's really wrestling with the 183. It doesn't have the distance that SPY does just yet. Not that SPY has a ton of distance, but QQQ is kind of right on the 183. And similarly, if it gets through that 183, even that is sort of like a question. But if it gets through that 183 and gets that red 34 EMA, I would just be aware of if it's making its way through. And if it does, then like I said, you have that 495 there. Or sorry, yeah, 495? Is that the right? I guess so. Um, uh, but if it rejects strongly off of that 34 EMA, then you could get pressed down really hard and have a swing back through, or price action back through the 183 to the downside, right? So it gets pushed back below the 183, and then I would expect there's a strong likelihood there that you would see a new swing low, versus the recent swing low, not like all-time low, just like a swing lower than the most recent swing low. So both of those still look to me like there's, like I said, there's 588s and there's 495 there. Those are first levels to overcome resistance wise. But my general sense is this little respite, right? This little sort of bullish run, if we want to even call it that, this little clawing back of some of the losses that we've seen in the last month or so. It still feels to me quite tenuous. I could see it very easily being a brief rest period and then resuming downside action. So obviously I'm making a couple of buys here and there. I talked about that earlier. So it's not keeping me fully out or fully on the short side of the market. But overall, I am treating it quite cautiously. I would just tend to think that there is more downside to be had. But who knows? I mean, crazier things have happened. The Buffett indicator is still, to me, just very much in overvalued territory. And if it did get back into par value or somewhat undervalued territory, there'd be some great deals out there. But yeah, so that has me sort of holding off jumping in any deeper, if you will. And the other thing is the whole geopolitical, all like everything that's going on, just with the tariffs and saber rattling and the unknown unknowns that are out there. To quote, who is that? I have Ratcliffe on my mind, which is obviously not Ratcliffe. Didn't say that. Who's that guy? It doesn't matter. This was in the George W. Bush years. But yeah, it's I still feel a little bit too cautious to jump in more fully. But I know there's plenty of folks out there that are trained and maintained on buy the dip, and so maybe you've bought the dip and I'll be late to the game, but I feel okay with that. All right, folks, well, I hope that your trading week is off to a good start, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.